Upgrade your dealership's marketing strategy with Activator's multi-channel solution, powered with Salesforce. Our hybrid CDP collects and unifies data, automating marketing journeys that drive customer engagement and revenue. Dealers experience a 20% increase in reach and a significant boost in sales and service drive revenue. Discover the power of Activator and elevate your dealership's performance.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another ASOTU Edge webinar. We are going to be joined by our friends today at Activator. We're going to be talking about reawakening your dealership and overcoming industry challenges from the COVID coma. So leading us off today is going to be Paul J. Dahle and Kyle Mountsier, you know, our founders. We're also going to be joined by Jake Blair, GM of Tim Dahle Mazda Southtowne, as well as Bobby Gaudreau, who is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Activator, and Mike Whitlow, Director of Product and Strategy and Marketing at Activator as well. So I'm going to hand it on over. Y'all enjoy this. It's going to be a good one.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Oh,
It's been a while. I forgot to change my lights. I'm realizing that right now. He's Activator green in just a second here.
Oh, Activator green is coming. Okay,
we'll make it happen. We just got to give it a second. All of a sudden, I'm going to show back up and it'll be green. It feels like it's been a while since we've done one of these.
It has been.
Prizes before ASOTUCon.
Yeah. Before ASOTUCon, we had all that content from ASOTUCon, lots of it, and really, really great like conversation around operations, and you got to keep that going. And
I know it. So. Welcome to everybody on the live stream and all of you who may be watching this after the fact. I checked out the registration list for this one. And it's a legit registration list.
Yes, people are interested in this conversation for sure across the industry. We're talking today about how not just like what we have the capacity to do as an industry, but more actually, and I love the positioning of this and the intent is what are customers asking of us? What do they actually need from us when we think about our go-to-market strategies and the way that we're communicating with them? Because like communication is a two-way street. And so we have to consider what the consumer wants from us as the retail auto industry. And so I love taking this perspective on marketing and communication from like, what's the customer asking of us, right?
And I think this is a challenge that isn't just unique to the auto industry since 2021, when a lot of data and studies are showing that expectations have changed. I mean, so much has changed since 2020. It's like not just an expectation, but just in how people have been delivered varying levels of service, what their our expectations going into a restaurant have changed, going into a Target have changed. And so I think, how do we recover some of that? How do we lean into what people, the mindset and how they're thinking now to give them what they want, when they want, exceeding their expectations? I think there's a real opportunity, especially through a lot of this new technology that's coming up in the auto industry to deploy that. So this, like you said, a lot of people are paying attention, even in light, I'll mention it, even in light of what's going on with the DMS outages and all of that stuff. I think building consumer trust, exceeding expectations is something that we're going to do really well as an industry if we lean into that in a significant way over the next 6 to 12 months to kind of overcome some of those hurdles.
Well, like the interesting stat, and we kind of pulled this from the recent white paper that you can get if you registered for this webinar, is that in automotive right now, consumer loyalty has declined by 10% since the pandemic. Now, there's been a lot of reasons for that. But regaining that loyalty takes a whole different effort than it did pre-pandemic or kind of pre where we were at. Like you've got a lot, lack of inventory, from an availability perspective. You got changes in interest rates forcing people to be less brand loyal. You've even got net new products where people are asking like, what products can I buy next? But then you've also got service expectations when service departments were over
4 weeks out, 5 weeks
and then
out.
all of a sudden
Absolutely.
people are defecting because they're not getting that touch point. So when you look at all of those factors, the level of intention that it takes to re-win customers back into a loyal status is a
lot more than it takes to keep them.
A whole lot. Yeah. Way more.
We bringing some friends on?
Let's bring some friends on. Hey, we're going to bring Jake, Bobby, and Mike. Just a couple words before we do that, and watch out for backgrounds.
Enhance customer engagement and drive dealership revenue with Activator, powered with Salesforce. Activator automates multi-channel marketing to boost sales and service revenue. Discover the power of personalized marketing with Activator.
There we go. Everybody's here.
We did it.
We got our colors right too.
Got our colors right, everybody. Welcome, Jake, Bobby, Mike. Glad you're with us today.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's jump right into it. I want to get to know, because our goal always is to actually take like technology into practice, and so I'm so grateful, Jake, for you making some time. I know the dealership is always a busy place, and so taking a little bit of your time to share the impact in the industry. Can you give us just a little bit of background on your store, location, size, retail, service, operations, like what it looks like to be in your store every single day. So kind of everyone's aware of the market there.
Yeah. So I've been at this store. I took the store over about 2 years ago. It's Tim Dahle Mazda in Sandy, Utah. We call it Southtowne because it's in the Southtowne area of Salt Lake County. And I'm in an auto mall currently with a couple different dealers across the street and around the corner and stuff. So we are, as far as size, we're the number one Mazda dealer in the region. We've been able to succeed to that since we took over this store 2 years ago. And we're average selling about 100 new cars a month and roughly 110 used cars a month. So it's a pretty decent operation. Obviously, we always want more, and we want to continue to figure out how to do more in this market. And so that's, I love this place.
Yeah, very cool. What you've been there for like the last 2 years. As you see, it feels like 7 years prior, right? In the like types of cycles that have happened in the last 2 years, and challenges that have kind of faced the retail industry. What are like some of the more recent shifts that you're seeing in consumer behavior and the engagement between the dealer and the consumer?
Well, I think you guys hit it on the head a little earlier in the introductions and stuff. Is we really need to do a better job of building back the trust with our clientele and our customers, and making sure that we are answering the questions that they want us to answer, and not just force feeding them the information that we think is important. And I think that we've been able to do a really good job of utilizing the tools that we have here to do that. Activator has been such a fantastic tool for us to use. And, my guys are constantly in that tool all day, every day. And it's shown in being able to have that personalized messaging that they have been sending to our customer base, so that when we're following up with it, that it's all hand in hand. And these customers are definitely feeling betrayed from the COVID time. Obviously, it was, anybody that's in the car industry understands what kind of income we were all making during that time. And the customers understand that they were not in control. And now that they've regained the control, we need to understand that we have to 100% cater to what these customers are looking to accomplish in order to earn their trust, their business, and their repeat referral business. And people don't understand how important that repeat referral business really is.
Do you see that there is you mentioned people like have felt like they got a little burnt maybe during COVID. Are you seeing a lot of people like saying that to you directly in the store? Like, oh, I'm underwater on my trade, or you did this, or like, you feeling that?
Absolutely. They come in all the time with the big negative equity that they currently have, because it was, there was no rhyme or reason, 3 or 4 years ago to, what kind of deal people were getting. And so they're coming in nowadays, and obviously the depreciation of the car,
double whammy. Yeah.
Right. So, and the beautiful thing is I'm able to then explain to them the situation that they're in, and be able to put them in per se a lease or something like that. That's more of a short term, get them out of that situation that they're currently in and be able to start over. But absolutely, that people are coming in and they're definitely feeling burned, and especially here in Utah. I don't know outside of Utah a lot, but the customer base is way frugal. And so anytime that you hit them with your $6,000-7,000 negative equity, they want to their seat.
Yeah, it's a jolt. Why don't you tell us about how you first got to know our friends at Activator? Tell us that story.
Yeah, so when I took over the Mazda store, we had to have that represented us per Mazda standard. And Activator happened to be those people. And the beautiful thing about Activator is they are personalized not only with the customer, but with the dealer body, the general managers, the people that are engaged, and they are constantly doing trainings. And it's been a fantastic marriage, I think. And you have tons of options out there, but nothing like what I've been able to experience with Activator, because people are constantly coming in trying to pitch us on, you need to switch. And but Activator seems to have the best information, the best platform, and my guys, it's easy for them to utilize and reach out and actually get training on how to use this information rather than, hey, just use it.
It's kind of important. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Everyone's got information and says they have all the information, but anyone who's tried to implement it practically is always like, that's great, but I've seen what happens when like comes time to use it. If it's complicated, if it's hard to use, just no one touches it.
For sure. And you know that obviously, and I'm in a little different boots on the ground type of situation with my salespeople. And I'm a general manager that sits on the desk and works car deals and is in the day-to-day routine. And so watching these guys actually be able to utilize something that you see results in is the biggest thing, right? It's seeing the results and being able to reach out, and it's a phone call, it's an email, and they're right back to you and they're helping you and answering any questions that may need. I mean, you'll show statistics here in a little while. We've had huge influx here just with our store between service and sales.
That's awesome. You know, I want to go back just a little bit because Bobby, you know, many people may not even know, you know, you see this name Activator kind of pop on the scene. I don't know, you know, a couple years ago now. And maybe some people kind of surprised by it, but this isn't the first rodeo of this team, but it's definitely a new look. Where, you know, what's the current state of where Activator's been, right, in kind of a previous product and where it is now, and what the biggest change in the kind of like core functionality and reasoning behind what the product actually delivers?
Yeah, so I'll take the crack at that. So I think from our background, and here's a interesting fact, is we stood this business up and kicked it off with our team that we kind of brought on from some other businesses within the Dominion umbrella. Literally the week the world shut down with COVID, so we had everyone. We had at our headquarters, which is and it was that week. And you know, the Monday of that week, everyone's doing the little elbow things and making Corona jokes, and then by Wednesday, people were booking flights to get out of their home. And I flew home on that Friday, and it was a ghost town in the airport. But to just kind of rewind is, so our origins came from so Dominion Enterprises has a number of different businesses within its automotive subsidiary, Dominion Dealer Solutions. And so our original start was really two products that were in that portfolio. So you had Deal Activator, which was one of the original, pure play equity mining tools. And then we had another business, Auto Revenue, that was one of the first email-based kind of customer service retention tools. And those were successful, very lucrative businesses in their time, but then those businesses became ubiquitous. And a number of years ago, our CEO said, look, we don't want to have these as standalone portfolio businesses anymore. So we're kind of challenging to kind of build around that. And so we started to take our equity and took Auto Revenue and tried to build around that with traditional marketing best practices. So channel marketing, funnel marketing, looking at things just beyond the bottom of the funnel. And as we kind of proceeded about a year into that, we just started to run into some challenges with our ability to go fast, right? And some of that was all homegrown technology. So the inventory crisis is what really catapulted us to where we are now, because the inventory crisis forced us into this difficult situation that in order for us to change the content, in order for us to quickly react to these things that were just, everything was changing by the week. We just knew it was going to take too long with our own homegrown technology. So we started a process of looking at building the tech in a different platform, and we ultimately landed on Salesforce. And so we didn't, as I've said it, in different forums before, we didn't outsource our ideas. We didn't outsource our strategy. We didn't outsource our 20 plus years of experience and all this subject matter expertise that we kind of have within our umbrella. We just changed how we executed that. And arguably one of the best, customer management platforms available in the world with Salesforce. And so kind of the biggest changes kind of really revolve around, there's probably 3 or 4 things, but I'll focus on 2. So one is just our ability to execute. So we now deliver all of our marketing automation through Salesforce's Marketing Cloud. And that just provides just a unlimited ability to be able to integrate with other types of partners in different companies, and our ability to be able to, track and understand and react to behavior in real time. And then the second area is this concept of bringing in a unified data platform or a customer data platform, and our ability to kind of take that in the traditional sense, but then we've also wrapped that around what we're referring to as a data management layer. So there's just all these other challenges that any dealer and any vendor is going to face, independent of how they're executing that marketing. And that all starts with where we're generating many of the, the audiences and the lists that we're going to use for some of the traditional marketing, or that's going to get tied back to from some digital marketing that's coming in and out of the CRM or out of the DMS. So we've got a unique way by which we're able to address duplicates, a lot of scary stuff that's going on with bad and invalid email addresses, so that we are creating this primary marketing record that we're marketing to and reporting to.
Yeah, and that kind of clean data strategy where all inputs kind of come into one place, and then you have a bit of a source of truth to say, like, we can actually action on these records. Talk to a little bit, because you guys pulled some stats on Jake's store. Talk to a little bit about what that looks like when you kind of ingest a set of records and then go, this is actually what we're working with, and this is what we can actually action on.
Yeah. Mike, do you want to talk through these?
Yeah. So there's 2 primary processes that we put in place upon implementation. By the way, we can, we hear about sometimes it taking some of these enterprise solutions, some of the industry solutions that, mirror a lot of the things that we're doing as well, that can take months, 6 months to fully implement. We're deploying in 30 days, by the way. So I want to put that out there. When we get the dealer's DMS, that's where we start. That's where all of our ironclad connections are with every DMS across the industry. We take a look at the duplicate records, and then we take a look at the kind of malformed and incomplete records as it relates to specifically for email addresses and other contact information. So we first start by quantifying that, and we put a spotlight on that. And what we find is, I'll talk about the Tim Dahle store here in just a moment, but globally, anywhere between 10 and 35% of a dealer's DMS are duplicates. So sometimes triplicates, sometimes
35.
More than that. Oh yeah. Woo. So what that means is that there's a lot of misfiring communications that are going out on the systems that are plugged into that. So you're talking about, Kyle was just in for an oil change yesterday. He used a 10% coupon, and then 2 days later he gets a 20% coupon. How do you think that makes Kyle as the consumer feel, right? So we look at the duplicates first to quantify that, and then start to do, there's processes then that match and group those, and then start to pluck out the best contact information to actually communicate with Kyle as a person across those duplicates, right? And then we look at what are the, what's the impact of the email addresses that are in the DMS and other sources, and start to quantify what are the invalids. So that's, the use case there is there's customers, high percentage of customers in a lot of the dealers' databases where they don't have a valid email address, and that we've been emailing these people for years and haven't been able to.
You mean someone might put none at none.com?
Oh,
the email done?
You know it. And then what's worse is some of those invalid emails can turn into spam traps. And then, there's people out there phishing that as well, that put not only our reputation at risk for delivering those emails, but the entire, all the efforts at the dealership that leverage email communications,
On that
audience
domain.
matching on
Right.
on social media and so on, right? So if you pull that slide back up, the if we quantify that for the Tim Dahle group or the Tim Dahle store that we've been working with, we've been able to really hone in on, they've got 27,000 customers roughly in their DMS. We matched duplicates at 28% when we initially went in. So 28% were potential duplicates. And then they had roughly 2,800 invalid emails and 102 spam traps. That every single one of those spam traps puts the marketing efforts at risk. And then, the misfires, I'm giving a very rudimentary example of a misfire, but think about all the communications that are going out from the dealership. Each one of those were put at risk. So we address those things first and then talk about what are the ways to automate the marketing and engage people and start pulling them back in from there. But it starts with the data. So great question.
I mean, I think the real obvious thing that a lot of people tune into these and they want to see, like, what happened as a result of the campaign, right? You got everything up, you set us up well. What actually happened? And Jake, would love to get your thoughts after on, like, what was the real feel result on the ground level?
Yeah, I think that obviously we're getting much better individual results in being able to drive the customer here, right? You can see the results of scrubbing out some of the bad stuff and actually targeting, personalized targeting these customers, right?
Oh, without a doubt. We have a slide with some numbers actually we can talk over. Actually, let's throw the results slide up. So here we go. We see these. You want to talk through these? I don't know, Mike, are you the best one to talk through the results?
Yeah. I'm probably the closest to it on this specific example.
Walk us through it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, the results speak for themselves on the engagement is, either at or above benchmark here, which is a very difficult thing to do in the environment that we're in, especially across traditional channels. So in the Tim Dahle store, we really focused on, what we call lost service, what's traditionally known as lost sold customers. So, those are typically customers that haven't been in for a year. Each brand, each dealership has the ability with us to kind of flex that a little bit if they want to go a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. But the reality is these are folks that either didn't have a compelling event to come into the dealership, maybe didn't have the best experience like Jake was explaining when they purchased or when they did their last service, or they've just drifted away because they haven't been engaged in the right way. So these are people that we've cleaned the data, we understand who they are. We made sure we have a good contact information for them, and then we put them in our multi-channel, multi-touch automated journeys in Salesforce, and then we're pulling them back in. So we see almost a 60% open rate, an at benchmark, click rate, really good SMS reply rate. Jake, I think that's a pretty good average last sold RO number, approaching $600. And then
That's a monster number.
And then 17K of just looping people back into the dealership where all the efforts that he's making to provide a better customer experience once the customer's in the dealership, to let that take over and build trust over time. So can you put
a time, like what period of time is this over from starting to the point where you would have this number to show us?
Yeah. So that's a year to date number.
There you go.
Yeah.
January till now.
I mean, the reality there is it shows that these customers potentially desire to be loyal, but haven't been given a reason to, or been connected to in the right way. Or maybe we just missed connection because we didn't have the right contact information. That data wasn't clean and normalized. Right. And because when you see like Jake, even Jake's eyes, like he's seen these numbers already and his eyes got big again. He was like, why don't we do more of this? $586 a round. When you look at that, like that, my guess is that's not from one $18,000 RO, right? That's from like repeated, well-placed marketing that brought the right customers in, right?
So let me kind of just touch base real quick in the Mazda world, just so you know, on an RO base. And I hear everybody say, Mazdas don't break down. They just, if you walk through my shop, these aren't on big ROs. This is on little ROs that we're making a lot more money on. Just to kind of show you the difference. We're not replacing transmissions and engines.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. I mean, I spent 8 years in 4 Mazda stores, so like I get it. I'm looking at that number going, I know exactly what that number means to a dealership. So,
one other thing too, if that I want to emphasize, like if you look at some of those other data slides that we had, so where we showed that there were I think approximately like 25,000 potential records in the DMS, but then you can leave this slide right up here, but that duplicate groups of almost 3,400 duplicate groups, right? So that's like 3,400 opportunities to screw up, right? If you don't do that the right way. And the way that our journeys are designed is they're designed in the traditional sense. So the journey really never ends. What happens is someone has that entrance criteria based on the things that we're running. So someone based on a series of events now qualifies into that lost service journey. Now, if we hadn't already cleaned that up, there could be, 5 records for Paul that qualified for that, right? And then unfortunately, all 5 of those records could enter into the journey, right? But we're putting that force field around there because we're taking these extra steps. We're putting in the primary record into that journey. So it's the better experience for the consumer. And then on the tail end of that, it's accurate reporting, because we're not just reporting on a fractional record that's existing in the DMS. Yep. So it's just, there's a lot of cool things that are happening in here that I want to make sure that we don't take for granted, because it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get us to this pretty cool point.
Yeah. And I'll draw out just one more thing, and then we've got a question that I want to make sure that we get answered. But, you point to those, I think it was 102 spam trap emails. And if people aren't extremely aware of the new guidelines, specifically from Google and Yahoo, but also guidelines that have been in place in a lot of Microsoft organizations, when you look at work emails, the possibility of basically having your domain shut out of Google and Yahoo is so high right now. If DNS records aren't correct, right? You don't have your DKIM, you don't have your SPF records. You're hitting too many spam trap emails in campaigns. Like, let's say a campaign runs and you've got 3 or 4 of those in a single day going to a Gmail inbox. All of a sudden, like, Gmail's going to flag you for 10 days, and getting out of that is almost impossible.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. So like, just that little 102 email removal alone could save a dealership's entire marketing efforts across multiple different providers just on email, right?
No
if that domain is being utilized. So I want to make sure and ask this question. It was asked in the live stream. And maybe I'll ask Bobby to say this, and this is maybe a little bit more of a theoretical question, but where do you see now that we have these capacities kind of outside the DMS and CRM? Do you see the CDP as being the record as on the source of truth, or is there still a source of truth, to be held as like, no, the DMS still is the source of truth? Where are we at on that?
Yeah, no. We the way that we're built, and this is like, it's an evolution and not a revolution per se, right? Like, the DMSs aren't going away, and DMSs are. And I know it's a thorny subject right now, but DMSs are designed to do what they're supposed to do. CRMs are designed what they're supposed to do. Then when you start moving over all these, new and exciting activation tools that are out there, all the different chat companies and all the different telephony companies, right? There's not going to be less of them. There's going to be more of them, and we should embrace that, right? And so if you step outside of automotive, right? So we spend a lot of time talking about data because we have to deal with it, because no one else controls it, right? I was on a podcast with you guys earlier, and we referenced it to it's the refrigerator in the break room, right? Like, everyone has access to it, but the way that we're building this is the CDP is the unified place where all of that is managed. That's what it's designed to do. And right now we use a database called Snowflake to help us process some structured and unstructured data. We picked that because that's what it's designed to do, right? And a CDP is designed to take data from all of these disparate sources, all of these quote unquote silos, and then it either helps you to paint that picture of that one person, and then over time enrich it. And, and when it comes down to the basics, right? So this isn't even theoretical, right? The whole point of marketing is to tell someone you understand them, right? And to build that relationship. And the more you can do that, as Jake was saying before, from a personalized perspective, the more you are showing them that you know them. Now you start sending them on a car they no longer own, or you email them 5 times after they've told you to stop emailing them. You're showing them you don't know them, right? And then they're just gonna ignore you. So, the CDP is where the database of record should live for marketing and for reporting. All first and third party data sources.
Well, we would be remiss if we did not ask the question before we wrap here. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you at Activator? Definitely some questions and some interest being turned up here. So what's the easiest way?
So for me personally, it's Bobby.Gaudreau at activator.ai. But the easiest way is to go right to our website, which is activator.ai. And we've got a lot of resources on our website in terms of videos and content and just a lot of research stuff to help people get smarter in this area. And there's plenty of places to click and you'll get in touch with the right person. So.
We actually have that resource that we are sharing, the Reawakening Your Dealership State of the Industry report. You can get on the ASOTU.com registration page. If you're signed up for this, you're going to get it if you haven't already. Gentlemen, thank you for spending a few minutes with us today. Jake, thanks for fighting the fight on the front lines.
Absolutely.
And I loved hearing the intercom there. It just brings me right back.
Sorry, guys.
It's like a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Yeah, that felt real good to me. I was like, back in the saddle. Here we go.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
It's really great to do these things with you today. And we're going to go back to Anne-Marie, who's going to close us out.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. That was, as we promised, a great conversation with Mike and Bobby and Jake, just talking about reawakening their dealership. So we're going to have another webinar here in a few weeks from now. Feel free to tune in. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And thanks to Activator and to Tim Dahle Mazda for participating today. Have a great day, y'all.